Well, hello there and welcome to this Tech Tips tutorial on Google Drive brought to you by Simple Business Solutions. Today, we're going to go over what we call Tech Tips. They're little tricks for all the tools that we teach that supercharge your productivity and give you an edge over people that just kind of know how to use these tools. And today, we're going to give you 5. So let's just dive right in and talk about the 5 tech tips. The first is something you all are going to love. It's called revision history. So have you ever been working on a document and you are afraid to delete something because you don't want to forget it or you don't want to lose it? For instance, let's say that I've got all this text to review and I need to rewrite this copy up top. So what I can do is I can go and I can actually delete this and know that I'm going to be able to pull it back. This thing called revision history allows you to pull back a previous version, and every version is tracked. So to pull up revision history, go to File, see Revision History, and it'll group them by day for the most part, and you can expand these groupings to see exactly what was done at any given time. You'll notice that there is a purple dot in some of these, and then a green dot in some others. The dot color tells you who made what change, and if there's multiple people editing a document, this can be very handy. You can go back as far as you want, including to the point when the document was completely blank. So no longer are you going to be wondering who made what change or how things were changed, and no longer are you going to be afraid to delete and change things because you know that you can pull back the previous versions. The second tip is formatting. There's all these controls at the top of the screen here, and most people are only familiar with bold, italic, underline, and the font size. Well, one of the things to pay attention to is this. It's called styles, and you can select heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. There's hotkeys for those as well. We talk about hotkeys a lot here. One of the hotkeys that you can use on a PC to change the heading size is Control, Shift, and the number. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Now, why even bother doing all this if I can just change my stuff up here at the top? The thing about headings is that Google Drive, Google Docs knows that this is a heading. A heading is usually only one line, so it applies some intelligence when it sees headings. See how this says heading 1 up at the top? The first piece of intelligence is that when you press enter after a heading, it brings you back to normal text, so you don't need to go back and maintain this formatting. The second piece is if I'm typing along and I want to say add another instance of that heading, and now I realize that I want to make this look like my company or look a certain way, I can right click on that heading, say select all matching text, and it selects just the headings. It won't select all the other text. That will work to some degree with regular text, but it'll work much more reliably with the heading. What if I wanted to modify the color of this, or even let's just make it italic? Well, now with the heading, I can right click and say update heading 1 to match, and all of the headings change. So with headings, you can have some automation applied to how you apply styles. You can automatically format all of the headings, and a really neat feature of Google Drive is that you can also insert a table of contents. So when I insert a table of contents, that table of contents is tied to my headings. So by using headings, and even by using subheadings, like let's say I were to do something and mark it as header 2 by using Control, Alt, and 2, and then refresh this table of contents, now you're going to see my second heading here. So it creates a way for you to navigate the document as well as format and make your life easier in that way. You'll also see that stuff in a document outline. Now, the third tip is search. Google Drive offers an incredibly powerful search. Now, there's not a whole lot showing in my Google Drive, but as you start to add things to your drive, which we covered in a previous video, access shared documents, and access your recent documents, you're going to find that you're just going to have a question, hey, I know I had this thing open, where the hell is it? So search Drive up at the top. Most people will just type a word. But what I want to show you guys is this more search tools. With more search tools, you can look in certain places. You can see if the document was owned by a certain person. So if you know that somebody sent it to you, they probably created it. You can look at the date modified. So you don't really need to, necessarily go to recent. If you're looking for a document that was modified, say, between 2 dates, you would be searching through recent for a long time. You would enter an item name. It could actually search in the file for certain words. You can also find documents that have been shared with people. So using this dialog, you can find pretty much any document that you're looking for. Here's the fourth tip, and that is determining a folder that a file is in. So I go to recent. There's a whole bunch of these recent files, but, I may not know where I don't know, this particular document is. This is so generic and so vaguely named. I could make a big long name, but I don't need to. I can click this I on the side, see all my revision changes. But if I click details up top, it shows me the folder. I can click the folder and it'll take me there. And then I can also see the whole path. So the path is my drive, Simple Business Solutions clients, which I can get to now by clicking through, if I really, really wanted to, all the different files. So know where your files are located, and if you don't, then check out this details section. Now, this brings me to my next point, which is the importance of placing files in a folder. If I were to just create a folder here, call it test folder, and I were to drop files into it, I automatically create a file in the folder that I'm currently in, which means that this file will be created inside of test folder. Sometimes it takes a second to turn on, but there it is. This file has been created in test folder. And the importance of that is that when I start getting into doing things within my organization, or if I share a folder to somebody, or if I want a document to appear in somebody else's drive, then I'll put it in a folder. The added benefit to folders is that sharing, as we went over in one of our videos, you can now go in and share a whole folder, right? So if I were to share this with myself, then I would have this entire folder shared, and anything else that I put in this folder would be shared. You can see that a folder is shared by the little person icon that's right next to it. Now, the other cool thing, and this brings us to the last tech tip for Google Drive, is that you can share folders by group. So let's say that I wanted to use a certain Google group that I've made. And Google Groups, by the way, we're not going to go over that in this tutorial, but it's accessible by going to groups.google.com. You can create a group, and by creating a group, you can assign it an email address. So if I say test email SBS at googlegroups.com, and I call this test group, and I hit create, and I tell it I'm not a robot, then anything that I share with test-email-sbs at googlegroups.com will automatically share to that group, which means that now I can share my folders to groups of people and then manage everybody that I'm sharing it to through that one group, rather than having to go to each folder or each file and wonder who's still got access to a file and have to remove everybody manually. Share your folders to different people and to different groups, and then put documents in your folders, and you will not have to worry about who has access to what, because you'll only have one place to go. So that's it. That is your tech tips tutorial for Google Drive.